B. Jackson that's growing up, and my great granddaddy, I'm rich right now because that nigga was singing.
And they still gonna be rich off his music.
And we live in a what is it, a fruitful life.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Because of some songs he was singing, some dude I don't even know.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's a win.
No, it's not.
All right.
No, it's not. I'm sorry. You need to get what's rightfully yours. You shouldn't take what you should be happy with. And that's an issue that we run into being black in the first place. A lot of times we just take what we happy with. Well, I mean, they not hanging this round right now, so it's not racist anymore. Yeah, I mean, like it's not as bad as it could have been, but it's still fucking goddamn it, nigga. We forced to live in these same neighborhoods. The fuck?
But now, why don't we got black
suburbs around here?
You can go buy an island.
It's not around here.
You can buy a country.
Why not? This is one of the most densest black populations in the country.
Yeah,
in the country. Why isn't there more black suburbs around here?
I think.
Why do I got to live in Cheltenham or in what you call it, Wingcote, all of that in order to enjoy a suburb with the highest taxes in the relative area?
But this is the thing, right? I'm in Chester. I'm from Chester.
Mm-hmm.
So there hasn't been a lot of change in Chester recently. But the thing that has changed, I mean, the things that have like big picture change in Chester, they got the Harris, they got the soccer stadium and all that type of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Hold that thought. Let's introduce the show.
Oh,
welcome back, okay. Education for the Soul. Welcome back. Your host, E. Shells.
What's going on? It's Floyd and
Jabril.
Today we got a co-host. Go ahead, introduce yourself, man. I mean, let them know who you are real quick.
Yeah. All right, so I'm Jabril Blackwell. I think pretty much everybody now know me for being the founder of Blackwell Training Group. We do firearm and medical training. All right, closer. All right, cool. We do firearm and medical training based out of Chester, PA. We work mainly in like the tri-state area right now. We do a lot of firearm training, teaching people how to protect themselves with firearms, teaching people how to get better at it. And we also do the medical side of things right now, too. So teaching people not only how to make holes, but how to plug holes as well. So in the event, any type of life-threatening bleeding that happens, we also teach you how to identify that, know what that looks like, and how to stop it before EMS gets there.
Wow. Okay. Now, real quick, I had to cut y'all off real quick, but that was getting hot real quick, that discussion.
We was about to go
so just let them know what we was talking about. So you were saying Michael Jackson. Right, Floyd, you the one that was talking about it. So
yeah, what I was saying was that Michael Jackson's estate or his catalog, was sold to Sony for $900 million.
All right. So what were y'all two saying about it?
Oh, okay. Well, we kind of got further away from that particular point, but I was saying, like, in Chester, the thing that I've noticed that's been changing has been the people in Chester actually changing. Like, for example, downtown area most of it just got bought up by black Chester residents. And they're actually actively changing what downtown looks like. For like the last maybe 5 to 10 years, they've been buying up property and they're just completely renovating the whole downtown. Some scenes from Creed, the movie, got shot down there. It's a lot more movies that are getting shot down there. We got studios down there now. It's a new art scene that's got down there. It's more black businesses that's coming in.
I heard the crime has actually decreased in Chester recently, too.
It's changing.
Yeah.
And I see, like, another 10, 15 years from now, it'll keep progressing in this manner with, like, the people that are down there actually doing the work. So when I look at that as a case study, like, Chester is like the hood. Like, you don't get hoodier in Chester.
Right.
So it's like to see that type of change coming, it didn't come from nobody giving us reparations. It ain't come from nobody. It came from the black people in Chester actually making a difference. And it's like, for me, I don't think of, I mean, I didn't personally do it myself. I know the people that did it. And I look at them and not taking anything away from them at all, but they're not super geniuses. They're not Elon Musk or anything like that. But they just people that actually decided that, you know what, we about to put this work in, and they put the work in and it's changing. So like when you said, I think your thing was, why don't we have it around here? I think that's only going to come when people around here do it. And I'm not saying it's completely all on us. And, you know, I can still accept and acknowledge what our people have been through. But, you know, it's actually a crazy conversation I had with another friend of mine recently, was that I felt like and this is again just pushing a little bit away from that, but I feel like we're at a weird point right now for Black people in America.
Okay.
Where we're actually starting to get closer to the idea of that American dream. So much so to the point that Black people now are allowed to live so many different types of lifestyles where maybe 40 years ago we couldn't. The conversation came about because my grandmother's in her 70s.
Okay.
Every 2 years, every voting, season come around, she'll say, all right, Black people, we need to vote for this person, and that'll help us. And I didn't have this conversation with her. We had these conversations in the past.
So she chose to vote for persons and not parties?
No. She votes according to the party, but she'll send out a group text.
Okay.
All right, these are the people in the party.
That's different.
No, not for somebody that age. See, that's more or less somebody nowadays would do
right.
that. But it was funny. I was having a realization to myself now that within this now, we have Black people now. We have like compared to her generation, right? Because that's my grandmother.
Mm-hmm.
We are able to live so many different ways now. So you have a Black farmer down south who lives a certain lifestyle. You have a Black guy in New York that runs a hedge fund. He lives a completely different lifestyle. And then you got the Black girl that lives downtown. She's like the lesbian dance major. She live a different lifestyle. And then you got somebody like me. I'm a dude that's heavy on the Second Amendment. I'm a gun owner. I promote, do for stuff, things like along that line. Mm-hmm. The four of us, we live completely, totally different lives where we may vote 4 different ways. Black people, we didn't always have that. Right. Before, like, if you would say back in like the 60s or even up into the 70s, most of the majority of Black people in the country lived a certain type of way because we were all pretty much held to a certain type of life standard. Mm-hmm. So therefore, you could say, all right, as a group, as a unified Black group of Black people, we're going to vote this way or that way because it'll benefit us as a whole. As compared to now, like, for example, my grandmother, she is like blue no matter who. That's kind of like her mindset. Whereas for me, I'm like, if I went that route, and I'm your grandson, right? If I went that route, that would directly, like, negatively affect almost every aspect of my life. Mm-hmm. So I can't go blue no matter who.
Right.
Where you might be like, all right, well, I can vote this person on this side of the aisle, maybe this person on that side. Maybe I might vote libertarian over here. Like nowadays, but the only reason that we can do that now is because we've reached a certain level of quote unquote freedom that we can now live a certain way. That's what I mean by we're getting closer to that American dream in that sense where we don't have the space to say, or not that we don't have the space. We're not in that position to say as unified Black people, we all vote this way or that way. Because regardless of what the news will tell you, there are plenty of big, huge groups of Black conservatives, Black libertarians that aren't Democrat. Most of the time, and it's crazy, we don't realize, especially living in like where we live, Black people mostly vote Democrat when they're generally under the poverty line and in major cities. When Black people start to get money and move away from the cities, they don't vote Democrat anymore because the party morals and ethics and the way they do things don't apply to their lifestyle anymore. It's like the opposite. So it's like once you reach a certain level of freedom where now it's enough of us that do it, it's kind of crazy to think about it that way. But again, these things negatively affect us more so than positively affect us.
Yeah, that's facts. I'm with you on that.
Question. So being a gun activist, did that make you pay attention more to politics or were you already hip to politics?
No, well, first of all, I wouldn't say I'm like an activist with it.
Okay.
I'm like most other people, I didn't really get hip to politics until Trump became president. Okay. And once it became a normal thing for the regular normal person to be into politics, that's the only time I really started paying attention to politics. Like, honestly, I like tell you from my household, I didn't even know the difference between Democrat and Republican until I was already in my 20s. And that was just because, again, it wasn't anything we ever paid attention to. I grew up in Chester. Everybody was Democrat. I just didn't know it. So it wasn't really a thing for me. And it wasn't like politics was a thing in our household. So it was like once Trump became president and then everything became politicized, that's the time I started getting into politics. But then I actually started paying attention because around that time anyway, 2016, I was, how old was I, like 22? So around that time anyway, I was kind of coming into my adulthood and really my own stuff because I moved out the house at that point. I'm on my own now. So now I'm starting to like really dive into certain things. So it was around that time that it didn't really have much to do with the gun thing, but mainly, Trump becoming president. Okay. Kind of like shook everybody up.
Gotcha. That's definitely facts. All right, so I'm sorry, not a gun activist. What
Right.
would,
No,
I
it's-
mean, what title would you go by?
I don't know.
What would you accept?
I wouldn't even say enthusiast. I don't know. I would. I just run a company. Like that's it. I just teach people how to protect themselves. Like that's it. I'm a teacher. That's just
All right, there we go. Talk
So,
about
yeah,
that.
yeah, he's pro what you call it?
I'm pro
Protection.
knowledge. Yeah, I'm
Pro
pro
knowledge.
Yeah, pro
Okay,
knowledge.
okay,
That's
there
what I
we
would
go. I
pro
like that
knowledge.
one.
Because at least I would say, and I know I said this before, but like I would say that the more informed people are, you can make informed decisions, and that way you can make intentional decisions. If you don't know, if you just say, all right, well, I just want to do this because I don't know, then you can't even say that's the best decision for you. You're just making an uninformed decision. So I would say I'm definitely pro knowledge. I would say, because I wouldn't even say like everybody needs to have a gun or anything like that. I would say really learn about it. Really learn some stats, learn the laws, learn about guns in general, because unfortunately, again, I feel like a lot of black people really don't know the things about guns that we should know about guns at all. So I would say definitely learn everything you can about it and then make a decision, because then you're going to be in the best decision to do so. If you don't learn beforehand, you're just kind of reacting to life rather than being proactive.
I like that.
Yeah, it's funny.
That's a great piece of advice.
It's funny that you kind of point out the fact that people, you had to explain to people what stance you took because of the fact that you are pro-gun, right? So I'm kind of wondering, what was the blowback, or how were you treated because of your stance on guns? And like you say, you grew up in Chester, and most people were Democrat. There were a lot of deferring opinions around you. You know, what was your reaction to your environment being the person you are, how you think?
Honestly, my reaction to the environment was that I was kind of mad at everybody around me. And I can say even right now, I still am. And I don't know how to describe it exactly. I wouldn't say anger, because it's not like I'm like, angry. But it's more or less like I kind of feel, and it could be partially just due to my own naivety, being young too, because I'm only 28. So like, I really feel like, and I talk about this, and you hear a lot in the things that I say, and even like in my like the tone of my social media. If you like follow me long enough, like you can tell I have this kind of attitude of that we put ourselves much further behind than we could be. We put ourselves way further back than we should be on a lot of different issues, just as black people. And I'm not saying that we can have everything that everybody else has. I don't believe that, but I think that we could have more. We could be a little bit further ahead than we are. And I think part of it is due to that. It's kind of like a blowback of slavery. Like we still, of course, it's some trauma of slavery and everything that happened to us that we are where we are. But I don't think like, all right, this is just easier way to explain it. When it comes to guns, right? I was always taught growing up, and it might not even be literally taught, like my parents literally saying this to me, but I could get the mindset, and the mindset of most everybody else, all my friends, we all got the same type of messaging. Especially when I started learning about guns, and I started expressing my want to carry and learn more about it and things along that line. It was like, if you carry a gun, you're asking to get shot. The only people that have guns are cops, military, and drug dealers. So you ain't a cop, you're not in the military, you trying to be a criminal. Like, it was kind of like that's the undertone, especially in the hood with guns. Like, because we talk about it all the time, man, all these guns, these crazy kids, we need to get rid of guns. Like, that's kind of the mindset, that's the tone. When I first got introduced into this world, like, and I know I told the story before here, but I was 14, I was messing around in my dad's closet, and I found he had a gun cleaning kit. I went to my dad, like, why do you have a gun cleaning kit if you don't have a gun? You're not a cop, you're not military, and I know you're not a drug dealer. Like, you my dad, like, I know that. So he was like, no, I have a gun, and he introduced it to me that way. And I was 14, and I was like, oh my goodness. Then I found out most of my dad's friends were also gun owners. To me, this was mind-boggling because, again, my whole mindset was, if you have a gun, you're a bad guy or a cop. That's it. So to find out that there's a bunch of grown men around me that I look at as good, upstanding men, I have respect for these men, but they all got guns, those two things weren't synonymous for me. But now, as I'm getting older and realizing, oh, yeah, we are behind the eight ball when it comes to, like, gun ownership, for example. Mainly, and I feel like mainly because to own a firearm, if you say, or even if you take that action to own a firearm, it's a real step forward towards the idea of protection and doing for self. Because most people will say, I don't need a gun because I can always call 911.
Reaction.
They are not only reaction, but they are putting their safety or their ability to react to a situation in someone else's hands. At the same time, we always say law enforcement is racist. But we completely give our self-protection to them at the same time. So for me, when I say I'm angry, I'm like, how is that not? How do y'all not see those two things? If you say law enforcement is institutionally racist, it's a bunch of white cops, and it's like that. Chester Police Force is like 90% white to a 90% black neighborhood city, right? So it's like if we look at that and say, oh, that's racism and these white cops, and they don't care about us. If you say all of that, and that's true, you want to hold that in one hand, the other hand, you say, at the same time, I'm putting my life in their hands. If somebody breaks in to my house, or if somebody is trying to rob me or rape my daughter, whatever the case is, I'm completely giving up my right to my own, for me to be able to protect myself, my family. I'm giving it to this institutionally racist organization. That doesn't make sense. So for me, I'm like, why aren't there more black gun owners? And on top of that, if you think back to the slavery times, that was the one thing that they did not let us have was guns. If we really look back on the history, and this is why I talk about, education.
Which is what they used to conquer us in the first place.
And then on top of that, once slavery was emancipated, the very next year was the first year of gun control. It's like, it's clear. It's very, very clear that the way we were enslaved and kept enslaved is because we did not have the ability to defend ourselves. And again, this is why I say, like, when I think about like the Democratic Party and things like that, it's a very clear agenda. We got to ban assault weapons. And they put that term on it, which is like a completely fake term, but nobody understands the whole mess behind that. But it's very, very clear the Democratic Party is anti-gun. Majority black, but again, being anti-gun was the thing that kept us from being free people in the first place.
What you mean? Elaborate on that real quick, the assault part.
Okay, so assault weapons. So there's no such thing as an assault weapon. Okay. There's no, so if you think about it, like they always synonymize AR-15s and assault rifles. And they say AR-15 is right there in the name. It's not. Okay. AR and AR-15 does not stand for assault rifle. Right, you could a 10-year-old can Google this and you could look it up and you can clearly see it yourself. AR and AR-15 is for Armor Light Rifle. It's a company. It's a brand. Just the same way, if you got like Jordans, you got what series of Jordans? You got Jordan 1s, you got Jordan 2s, you got Jordan 3s, whatever. AR-15 is the same way. They have AR-10s, they have AR-11s, they have AR-12s. The 15th model of Armor Light's rifle was just a civilian-based rifle that was very, very popular. Back in I want to say in the 50s they started, but it got popular in like the 80s, I believe, and it just stuck. So AR-15s became a civilian model of the M4 rifle that was used in Vietnam War and, since the 50s onward. So it's modeled after a military rifle, but does not have the same capabilities. Okay. So this is why it's legal for citizens to own. But this is knowledge that, like I said, a 10-year-old can go and Google this. So why is the president on TV and all of the Democratic Party leaders for the last 30-something years putting that name on it?
It's sniffing agenda.
This is the craziest thing in the world, because if I am not a super genius, if I can Google this and see that that's not the case, if they've been telling us that for the last 30 years, they're lying to us. And we're just all accepting it because we don't understand that this is not what it is. So it makes me, again, this is why I say I kind of have some type of anger, or I should say more like an emotional reaction to it, because it's like we're being lied to, clearly.
Yeah, you frustrated.
At least on this note, we're being lied to. So what else are they lying to us about?
Right.
I'm very frustrated.
Yeah.
And then on top of that, they tell you that we need to get rid of all these rifles and assault weapons or whatever the case is, but all of them are protected by people who have those very same things.
That's a fact.
Which goes back to my point and I was like, I swear to God, I was thinking about this earlier today. I feel like, again, as I said, I do, at least my idea right now, this is still like a thought and process. I still really believe that the Democratic Party only exists and can only be supported by people under the poverty line and ignorant. And I know that may hurt people's feelings, but this is at least my thought process of it right now. is because when people remove themselves from ignorance and they remove themselves from that poverty aspect of it, again, all of the major things that are a part of the Democratic Party, you can't live that way and maintain what you have. So, and on top of that, even the Democratic Party leaders don't follow any of those same things that they tell us. Like, what was the Spanish girl from New York? Cortez. What's her name? I can forget her name.
The judge?
No, not the judge. The congresswoman. The young Spanish girl with the black hair.
Was she the one that was talking about black kids?
One, right?
She was, she's young. She's like in her 30s.
She was like the youngest one.
Yeah, she's one of the newest. Yeah. Right. She's part of the squad or whatever like that. Mm-hmm. She wore a dress. What was it to the one of the biggest political parties of the year? She wore a dress that said "tax the rich" across it. She wore a dress that said "tax the rich" across it to a party that cost $16,000 to get in. If that's not a slap in the face, I don't know what is. Like, it's things like that I realize, like, even the leaders who are heading the Democratic Party, they don't even adhere to the things that they say that we should be doing. So it's like, again, to me, when I look at these certain things, and again, I'm not major into politics or anything like that, but it's just clear to me, I see several different things that it's just like, this stuff doesn't make sense. And I'm not saying that all black people should be Republican. I don't, believe that. But I feel like at the very least, like, we should be making, like I said, informed decisions. We should be learning about these things. If we learn that AR-15 does not stand for assault rifle, and they've been telling us that, or at least they've been implying that it has for the last 30-something years, let us learn this on our own, and then we can make decisions about if we want them or not. Rather than everybody just saying, oh, okay, we're not supposed to like these rifles, or we're not supposed to like semi-automatic weapon, like whatever the case is, all right, we'll get behind it. No, let's learn about it, and then we'll make informed decisions. Because last I checked, again, the reason we was kept as slaves for so long was because we did not have access to these weapons. Soon as Nat Turner, soon as he got his hands on a weapon, what happened? We wasn't slaves no more. Like, it's a wrap for that. No one's going to agree to that. If it was a racist mob that was coming around the corner right now and they was like, we're going to lynch everybody in here, what's going to stop them? It's not hard. Like, again, we're not going to box them to death.
Right.
They going to come with guns.
Right.
We meet them with guns now. It's a fair fight. It's different. But to say to us, for a political leader to constantly push on us that we shouldn't have those things, it's just, it don't make sense to me. It don't make sense. And that's why I can say I have that outlook on it. So.
And I agree with that. I agree with everything you're saying. Like, I feel like there isn't enough emphasis on black gun ownership in general. It's a lot of shaming.
Yes.
It's a lot of what do you call it? Agendas.
Yes.
That are pushed. That are trying to push us in a direction that if you don't own a gun, there won't be a gun issue
for you. Right. Well,
there won't be children out here getting shot because you don't own a gun, so it won't happen. Because your gun is the reason why children are being shot in the street.
And you know what?
Your gun is the reason why. I'm talking to you.
Right.
Your gun is the reason why, drug dealers are selling drugs. And they have a gun.
And the mayor of New York literally came out and she said that out of her mouth. When a reporter asked her, because the debate recently in New York was over the concealed carry law. They didn't allow people to conceal carry almost at all in New York, but they just recently changed it. And the mayor was saying, this is so bad, crime is going to go up so much. And the reporter was like, well, wait, if people can now conceal carry, and these are clearly law-abiding citizens are only the ones that are going to go out and get a concealed carry permit.
Because my name is on that bullet.
Exactly. And I got a permit with my name and my picture on it, and it says I got a gun. Yeah. Like, literally, like, your local drug dealer is not going out and getting a concealed carry permit. But he's like, if this is what's going to increase, and are going to be more law-abiding citizens on the street with guns, or at least having them in their homes, that's not going to increase crime. If anything, we've all seen the stats that it shows that it decreases crime. And she was like, nope, more guns on the street just means more crime, period. It's like, no, it never does. Even if you look at all of these white neighborhoods that don't have these same crimes.
Bro, on the door it says, we believe in the Second Amendment. Like, that's what they'll put on their door to their house. Yeah. Right. And nobody's coming in.
Personal experience. Exactly. So you go to Arizona, you go to Texas, you go to Walmart, you see those are open carry states.
Yes.
There is no beef.
PA is an open carry state.
Yeah, but there's a lot more attention in the Northeast and
Definitely.
everything like that. Like, we different from them down there.
Of course, yeah.
At the same time, you can you can see the ease. Like you're like less likely to start a beef when you see both of y'all are strapped.
And you less likely to
You
do
know
what else?
what?
You less likely to do
go
what
ahead.
else?
You know, I was in the way. You right.
You know what's less likely to? Mass shootings. Because
Mass
he got a
shooting.
gun, he got a gun, he got a gun, he got a gun, he got a
that
gun.
too.
I'm going to get shot. And there are, even on that note, there are a lot of, and
Speak to that.
and it's hard because, again, this is another thing that I feel like, again, our political leaders, they talk about, oh, this is such a sad, tragic event. This is why we need to get rid of guns. It's like, but there are, and this is something that's completely underreported, there are attempted mass shootings around the country that happen far more often than you believe. That get stopped all the time because there's a guy with a gun or a girl with a gun on the same area. There was just one that was a big one out in Illinois at a mall. The guy came out within 8 seconds. He started shooting. Within those 8 seconds, a guy 40 yards away was with his girlfriend, pushed his girlfriend from the side, put 6 rounds on this guy at 40 yards and stopped him from killing people.
Hit him with all of them.
That happens all the time. All the time. But we can't talk about it in the news.
I don't even know boy name.
I remember
his name either.
And I should.
We should, right?
And I should.
But again, he won't ever be talked about.
I know Peyton Gendrick.
He won't ever be talked about though, because that's against the agenda.
Right.
Even the CDC just got in trouble with this a couple months ago. They met with, because the CDC technically reports gun violence as a disease in the country. So they reported on.
It's a disease now?
It's been a disease. Technically, it's been a disease.
Interesting.
So the CDC has always kept stats for years on
so
gun
if there was
violence in the
knives
country.
and no counter knives, that'd be a disease too, right?
This is the thing. They kept track, and the FBI reports on this every year too. They keep track of how many guns are used in crimes and how many guns are used to save life. Consistently, every year, for years.
But those are never put out.
Oh, it's on their website. It was on their website. It was just never publicized so everybody can go and look at it. But you could find it on the CDC's website. I went and looked at the stats myself.
Okay.
You could see guns used in crime and guns used to save lives. And every time, it was always tenfold guns used to save lives. Every single year. The FBI reported.
That's crazy.
The FBI reported there's usually, this is crazy, people are killed in this country by bats and blunt objects almost twice as much as all guns combined, rifles, pistols, and shotguns.
How recent was that data?
2018.
Wow.
But this is the thing. The CDC just met with a gun control activist group recently, and they got them to pull all that information off their website because for years it has shown over and over and over again that what we are being told by our leaders does not actually equate to what's happening.
Did they meet with them or did they pay them?
We know what happened. They met with them and they got paid. Of course, they was like, we got to take this info down.
Allegedly.
Yeah.
And I mean, again, allegedly, right? Allegedly. But you can look all of this up. Like you could go and if you actually research this stuff, you can see that it's there. But it's just never talked about on, MSNBC because that would encourage what? It would encourage people to become gun owners. Last thing I'm gonna say on that point.
Even it's funny, real quick, because you just said it would encourage people to become gun owners.
Yes.
It's the Second Amendment.
Yes.
Gun ownership is counterproductive to every other amendment, to the law, to the Constitution, because it stops civilians from changing their destiny. If you don't have a gun, you don't have a say-so.
Yeah, you don't have control.
You don't. There's no control. Lack of gun ownership is what caused the slave,
Slave trade.
Slave trade.
But besides just the slave trade.
Lack of protection.
Besides the slave trade, every country around the world that promoted gun control, the government overran the people soon after. All around the world. It don't not just the slave trade. It has specifically to do with us too.
So
but
you think
around
about
the world.
Australia right now in gun control, they can't have guns during COVID.
Did you see their COVID lockdowns compared to ours?
Exactly.
They were in prison camps.
Exactly.
Like that's
and
what I'm saying.
People
But you
could
can
do nothing
that
about it
because they don't have no guns. Now here they can't do the same
No.
thing because bulls would be like,
3-1.
what? Right.
3-1.
Exactly. You're not going. You ain't doing that.
But listen, speaking on that hero in the mall, said he hit the guy from about 40 feet away.
40 yards.
40 yards away. More than 40 feet.
That's almost half a football field.
And then the reaction time.
Yeah.
Would you say within 20 seconds? So it was like he obviously had some type of classes, some type of training, and everything like that. So it was like, can we speak on the importance of just not only the education, but the training the being able to execute some of your knowledge for the real life situation, because you can read all you want. You put in that real life situation, you don't know if you're going to freeze up. So we speak on the importance, and I mean some of the things that might be available to help those people who want to get into that.
Right. So that it's funny. I usually try not to put it in that way to us mainly because like it's funny when I say black people is the last people trying to be heroes. Right. We the last people trying to insert ourselves unless we have to be, right? So like the way I always put it, and it's just popular saying, it's not my saying, but when seconds count, help is only minutes away.
Yeah.
And this is even when I go into the Stop the Bleed class. I always start in PA. The average response time for EMS is around 11 minutes. You could die in 3 from bleeding out of like a femoral artery from your leg. You can die in 3 minutes.
Somebody just got shot in the leg like 6 times or something. I just read an article about that.
Yeah, that takes no time to die.
All leg shots.
That takes no time to die from. No time at all. But when we don't understand, we don't understand how fast the situation can escalate, how long, even for if a police officer's response time is like 7 minutes, right? Which ain't the case in the hood. But imagine you ever boxed before or fight?
Yeah.
I mean, if you've been in a ring for 3 minutes, a 3-minute round in a ring, that feels like forever. And you look up and be like, it was only 3 minutes. Like, imagine 9 of those, but the dude got a gun. You know how much damage and carnage he can create in 9 minutes? It don't take no time at all. And I don't have nothing to do with the gun, because people's responses to that is, oh, we just need to get rid of guns. No, it's not about the gun. It's just, unfortunately, I feel like this is an aspect of human nature that we're not going to be able to get out of us because we're human. People was doing this stuff before there were guns. We made murder illegal, but that ain't fixed nothing. Like it never fixed anything. So it's like, I feel like regardless of the situation, the training is so important because you can only do what you know. If I don't know how to stop bleeding, it's not like the movie theater. I'm not just going,
Get a belt, apply pressure.
Right. I mean, and some of those things are good, right? But like I tell my classes all the time, like I tell my students, like, don't believe nothing that's on TV and movies. Like, they lie to you about everything. The biggest one I always say is like, whenever a bull gets stabbed or something, the first thing he do is pull it out. It's the worst thing you can possibly do. Like, I tell all the time, like, never ever believe anything you see on movies and TV. But people, I see it all the time. When people come to class, and regardless of if it's a firearms class or if it's a medical class, they come in and their eyes is open and they're like, wow, I did not know all of this. Wow, I did not know it. You could die that fast. Wow, I did not know you could save a life. Like, people don't understand this. And this stuff happens every day. We complain, like, as a people, one of our biggest plights is losing our kids to gun violence, to the streets, to fight and drug, whatever the case is. We have tools now that we are able to fight back against these things. And I'm not saying, again, I'm not for everybody go out and become a gun owner. Everybody needs to come out and get medical training. I believe, again, more people than not should definitely get at least the medical training side of things, because even statistically speaking, you're going to probably use that well before you ever get into a gunfight. But regardless, having it all is great. You need all of it, because you don't want to be, like they have that saying, you don't want to be a gardener in a war compared to being a warrior in a garden. I'd rather be a warrior in a garden, meaning my entire settings and my surroundings are sweet. It's garden, it's pristine, it's butterflies everywhere, but I'm carrying my rifle. I'd rather be that guy than be in a daggone war zone and all I got is a little shovel rake. Because or a rake, because I'm looking to plant some flowers. Like, that's not the spot for me. But it don't matter. I got my rifle, I got my pistol on my hip. I can sit in that garden and chill. And people don't understand that you can have both of those things. You can, just because you get gun training and become a gun owner does not mean you're going to start killing people. You're not going to become crazy. You're not going to just that's not
start turning into John Wick.
Right, yeah, it doesn't happen like that at all, especially if you go out for the right reasons. Like, people used to get on me about that before. When I first started training, people would be like, man, you teaching these people how to kill each other and this, that, and the third. And I'm like, yo, if you see the people that come to my classes, if you see the people that I teach, like, especially this past year, my biggest market was single moms. My biggest market was single moms who had guns that was like, yo, I got a violent ex-boyfriend. I got 3 kids. I gotta protect them. Like, especially during the era of COVID, like black people, and this is again a little known fact, black people became the biggest gun buying market in 2020. We became the biggest ones out there buying guns.
The guns was getting sold out.
Scrapped up.
Like
every
all them Jones around here. Yo, you seen the line?
Right.
The line looked like Black Friday, and then the next day that joint was shut down. Yo, we sold out. We ain't got nothing.
But this tells me this is like bittersweet, because for me now I'm like, yay, it's a bunch more black gun owners now. This is great. But at the same time, it also told me what was a bunch of black people that didn't own guns before, because now we all went out and bought them all up, which is great now. But again, what do we see right after that? Late quarter 2020, Democrats pushed forth the most invasive gun control law there ever was. They said that we need to know what kind of gun you got. We need to know where you keep it in your house. We need to know all of this information. You got to be on a national registry. It was madness. But again, I was about to go off on another tangent there, but the training aspect of things is so important, especially now with all these new gun owners, because again, it's not like John Wick. It's not like the movies. You're not just going to pick it up, point, and shoot. Once that bullet leaves that barrel,
you're responsible.
Especially out of and people don't understand, it's like even out of a 9mm round, out of a general pistol, it's going 1,100 feet a second. The moment you press that trigger, that thing is down the street and around the corner. Like, it's going. You got to know, and you're going to be accountable for every round you send out. So if it go into grandma's house down the street, if it go into that little kid in the playground, you're responsible for that. Let's learn how not to have that happen. Let's learn how we put those rounds where they're supposed to go.
Where can we learn?
Follow my Instagram.
All right,
Blackwell Training Group. That's it right there.
Out. There we
Blackwell
go.
Training Group. You just go on there, follow. I always post tips. I'm posting helpful things. I'm posting when I have my next classes. I'm posting where y'all can find me at. All of that stuff, all of my content is right there on my Instagram. I got a link tree, got a YouTube page, a Facebook page for people to join, all that type of stuff. It's all right there. And like I said, I'm constantly pumping out content for people, and I'm constantly having new classes coming up. I got classes for women, classes for kids, medical classes, all of it. So it's like,
that's beautiful.
Yeah.
I wanted to speak to you about that too. Also, I don't know if you're familiar with Derek Grace. He's also on Instagram. And everything.
Yes, I'm familiar with him.
I know he was getting a lot of flack and everything. For me, it seems okay because he's like educated his children very well on, but he's getting a lot of flack for like his children handling the firearms. Like he would do different demonstrations with them being blindfolded and everything.
It's ignorance.
And people would just give him mad hate and like pushback for that, saying that he was wrong for that. I wanted to get like your feelings on it and how you would explain that.
My first thought process would be to ask those same people who get mad at him for having his children handle firearms. I would ask, are they the same people that complain that white kids know how to use their firearms?
And I seen it. I seen this little 11-year-old girl with a white or a pink pistol out there with her dad at the range, and I was just like, okay, I don't see too much. You know what I mean,
I would ask the next question: do you think that those are the kids that are accidentally killing themselves? Which kids are accidentally killing themselves or shooting their parents or shooting their siblings?
The ones who don't know.
The ones who don't know anything about it. Because unfortunately, again, when we got Call of Duty, we got the movies, we got the music and stuff like that that glorifies firearms, right? That's all the kid knows about it. So when you put your gun in the shoebox under the bed, trying to hide it from your kids and not have them learn anything about it, when they go around and they find it, you know what they're going to say? They're going to say, oh, a gun! And they're going to pick it up, and it's going to be Call of Duty John Wick for them. And they're going to shoot themselves, shoot somebody else. They're going to hurt themselves. Something bad is going to come from that. As compared to, you want that kid, if you do hide your gun and that kid finds the gun, you want him to say, oh, that's mom's gun. Oh, that's that. Dad, you left your gun out.
Or I know what that is.
That's the reaction that you want from the kids, because curiosity is what killed the cat. When you don't educate them on it, they're going to do what kids do. Just going to do it.
Play with it.
They're going to play with it. As compared to children that understand what that is. Like I said, that reaction is going to be different. That reaction is going to be, hey, mom, you forgot to lock your gun up, or whatever the case is. That's the reaction that you want. You also want, it's so many, again, stuff that's really underreported. It's a lot of cases that happen around the country too, where a child grabs a gun and saves their parent. It was one case, this was last year, a dad was in the kitchen, guy came through the door, they was tussling. This son went upstairs, grabbed the gun, grabbed the rifle, came downstairs and shot the guy, got him off of his dad. How would he been able to do that had he been ignorant of it? Had he not known the gun was there, had known the gun was there and not known how to use it, not known how to be safe, not known how to be accurate enough to not shoot his dad.
Right.
This stuff, that's what I'm saying. Like, again, when we are able to make informed decisions, that's the best decision for us. We're constantly making ignorant decisions. Like Derek Harper, his child knowing what to do with those guns. It's like they're probably way more safer than you are as an adult because they know what they're doing.
Facts.
They know how to be safe around it. And I'm not saying, you just buy your kid you buy your 2-year-old a gun. Like, that's not what I'm saying.
Don't do that.
But you educate them on it. Even my 2-year-old, she's 3 now. But she, from the time that she was 1.5, from the time she could talk, she always saw me practicing with my guns in the house. She always knew. I would tell her, you keep your finger off the trigger and you always point it down. You don't point it at nobody. To the point, I'm sitting on the couch with her one day, scrolling through Netflix. And I stop. I'm looking through different movies or whatever. I stop. I'm down on my phone looking at something. I hear she next to me. She like, down, down, down. And I'm like, what is she talking about? I look up. It's a thumbnail of a movie. It's a scene where somebody's holding a gun up. And she's yelling at the TV, telling them to point it down. She's 2. Like, that's what you want
3.
your children. Well, she's 3. Well, she was 2 at the time. But that's what I'm saying. That's what you want the reaction of your kids to be, to know, oh, okay, I got to be safe with this thing because I know what it is. As compared to a kid not having a realistic idea of what that thing is, and then they go and play with it because that's what they're going to do. Because you bought them Call of Duty when they was 10. Yeah. They on there shooting people all day long. What you think they're going to do when they pick up a real gun? That's all the experience that they have with it, so that's all they're going to do. So, that's why we have kids classes for that very reason. Hopefully, we're going to bring them back. We just did one free kids class in December. Okay. You can go look at it on my Instagram. We had 10 kids. We had like 6 boys and maybe like 4 or 5 girls that was out there. We did classes for them. We taught them about safety. We let them actually ask questions. We had guns out there. They were able to see, oh, is this a real gun? Is this a fake gun? We took them on the range and they were shooting. Their mom and dad was there. They were shooting with them. Like, it was a great time. It was a great experience. And I say that to every parent, especially if you are a parent with a gun on, like you're a gun owner. Like, there's got to be a point that you do introduce this thing to your kids, or someone else out there will.
Beautiful. That's
not what you want.
That's such a beautiful point to make. Introduce it to your kids before somebody else does.
Before we get out of here, I just got to ask you one question also for the people, for the non-gun owners who are looking. I know the first thing you said was educate. Educate yourself about what you're about to get into. But for you, I just want to know, what would you recommend somebody's first weapon be?
So first you got to determine what your needs are. I feel like number one.
Oh my goodness, that was such a beautiful answer.
Yeah, I'm gonna try to expand on that a little bit. So you got to figure out what it is that you want to do. What I mean by your needs, what do you want to do? Do you want to conceal carry? Do you want something just for home defense? Do you want to get into sport shooting, hunting? Like, you got to figure that part out, because there are certain guns that are going to be for you, and certain guns that wouldn't be recommended for you to carry, or to have for home defense. But just figure out what your needs are, number one. And then after that, it's once you know what your needs are, and then you can correlate what kind of firearm you want to have. Like, if you want something just to defend your home, I would say shotgun all the way. Shotgun or a handgun all the way.
Okay.
Wow. You want something that is going to be for concealed carry, you definitely want to go with a handgun. You want to go with generally something smaller. Okay. Generally, not something too small, not a 22 little. No, we get rid of that. No, we get rid of all of that. You go with something a little bit bigger. But you get, like I say, something smaller in the sense that it's concealable. Depending, of course, to your body type. But then, after that, once you get to that point, then it's just based off of, I can't tell you like a certain brand to go after or a certain type of gun to get, because guns are like sneakers. So, like, we both might wear a size 11, but these Jordans fit me differently than they fit you, right? They might not fit on your feet the same as they fit with me. So, different gun brands they have, it's called ergonomics. They make guns that fit in different type hands. So, you might grab a gun and it just don't feel right. For me, Glock is a popular brand, popular model, Glock 19, but I can't stand them things. Everybody who know me in the gun world, they know Jabril don't play with cocks. Like, I hate them. But because they just feel too blocky for me.
Okay.
I felt, Smith & Wesson, M&Ps. I felt Canix. I felt, other brands. They just was like, oh, yes, this feels great in my hand. So you have to go to, a local gun dealer, a local gun shop, and just let them know, like, hey, I'm looking for something for concealed carry. I'm looking for something for home defense. And then you just put different guns in your hand, and you just feel what you need. Feel for it fits your budget. It fits you. Some ranges, they allow you to have free rentals if you purchase with them. So you can go out and just, like, test them out, see how they shoot, see how you like them. And after that, man, come to a class. Like, that's the best thing you could do after that. Come to a class. That way, not only do you get your needs met, but you'll really become more efficient in the usage of this thing. So that way, you don't buy something and feel like you John Wick out the box. And you go out there and you end yourself up in a whole bunch of legal trouble.
Yeah, have y'all seen Harry Potter before?
Yeah, well,
like the way you explaining choosing your gun remind me of how they let the wand choose them.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, that's just what came to my mind. Like,
yeah, it's like along that line.
Yeah, your wand is choosing you.
Yeah, it's along that line because like I had some guns before that really wasn't for me. Right. But when I was, I was ignorant at the time, and then when I started learning, it allowed me to make better choices, which allowed me to be a better shooter. Period. Just based off of making better choices because I was making an informed decision. So makes that's sense, why I always preach that. Like, you look up and down my page, I'm always talking about just get the education so that way you can make the best decision for you.
There you go. So after y'all grab y'all wand one more time, where can they find you at?
Blackwell Training Group.
Blackwell Training
YouTube,
Group.
Instagram, Facebook. We even on TikTok.
There we go. So we on TikTok.
Right. That's it. So it's not hard to find us at all. And like I said, we post classes when we're doing classes. We have free classes sometimes for people too. We make sure that, people can get to us.
Nice. All right, man. We'll wrap it up, y'all. It's another episode. I felt good about this one. I felt like I learned something. This is a good education today.
Right.
I like that. Your host, E. Shields.
And it's Floyd.
And
I'll let you close it out. There we go. That's it. We're going to get at y'all. Be safe.